All righty. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Van Leer Fellowship information session. I'm Lisa Gold, the Executive Director from A4. We are zooming in here from the unceded lands of the Lenape and Canarsie peoples. We are very excited to have you with us today. Justine, you want to go to the next slide? Okay, so we're going to go through just some basic information about the context of the fellowship, the application, eligibility, selection criteria, timeline, and then we'll have time at the end for questions and answers. If you want to ask a question while we're in the session, feel free to drop it in the chat. You can wait to the end. You can ask it while we're in it. That's fine. I'm happy. We're here for you to clarify any questions that you may have. So we're going to get started. So for those of you who are not familiar with A4, we are a 41-year-old nonprofit service organization dedicated to ensuring greater representation, equity, and opportunities for Asian American and Pacific Islander artists and cultural groups. And we are the only service organization in the country that works across all AAPI ethnicities and all creative disciplines. Next slide. So this fellowship is administered by A4. And funding comes through the New York Community Trust. And the fellowship is this year going to be awarded to 2 AAPI music artists, one in composition and one in performance, ages 30 years or younger, who seek to make an impact on the AAPI community and for the development of new or existing work. So sorry about the age limitation. That is not set by us. That is set by the Community Trust. And the work, again, this can be for something that you have always wanted to create or something that you've been working on and you want to continue to develop. Either is fine. We have, like I said, 2 fellowships, one for performance and one for composition. So you may do both. Feel free to choose which one you feel more affinity with. So we understand that there are a lot of people who do both. The structure of this fellowship is that it is 8 months in duration. We offer a $7,500 unlimited, unrestricted, sorry, it is limited to $7,500, but you can do whatever you want with it. It also includes a pairing with a career coach and an artistic mentor. So those are people that we can recommend. Usually we'll recommend some people, or with the artistic mentorship, you can tell us who you would really love to work with and we'll try to make that happen. And then we also support a presentation of your work in a public forum. And this can take a lot of different forms. So we encourage you to talk through that with us because there are some limitations in terms of how much we can offer in terms of technical support. But we also offer a lot of introductions and opportunities throughout the fellowship period. Apologies for my dog. She's very excited about this Van Leer Fellowship. Okay, next. Okay, so the fellowship, like I said, it takes place approximately 8 months. So the first component comprises a career coaching session, so you can really make the most of your fellowship. You followed that by artistic mentorship, who can help you, give you critique on the work that you're doing, and followed by the public program component. So going back to Daniel's question, you do need to select one of the categories for which you're going to apply. So like I said, just pick the one that you feel the most affinity with. Okay, next. The application is on Jotform. That's a platform that we use. You can save progress as you go, which we strongly encourage you to do so. Justine recommends creating an offline document so that you can cut and paste your responses into the application to make it go faster. There are character counts that are built in, so it will let you know if you're going over. The deadline is Monday, March 24th at 11:59 p.m. Note, we very, very strongly encourage you not to wait to the last minute. We don't want anything happening to your computer. We don't want any glitches in the system. We will not accept applications after the fact. So if you say, oh, I tried to submit at 11:58 and there was a glitch, that just don't. Just don't. Just apply before then. Yeah, it's just not a great idea to wait to the last minute. We will have a independent review panel made up of professionals in the field. We are not, Justine and I are not going to be, I mean, we'll look at them and we'll scan them for eligibility, but we are not making the final decisions, just so you know. Okay, next. Okay, to be eligible for this grant, you need to be an emerging artist, 30 years or younger, of Asian descent. You need to either be a performer or a composer of some sort, or both. And we want somebody who will show outstanding promise and benefit from this opportunity. So in terms of Asian heritage, we let you self-select. These are the categories that we have on the application that you can choose from. I believe you can also choose how you want to report your ethnicity, so that's fine. Next, again, you have to be 30 years of age or younger at the time of the application. I'm sorry, not at the time of the application, at the time the program starts, time the fellowship starts. So we've tried to extend this as much as possible. Again, we're constrained by the funder in terms of age requirements. So apologies for that. As long as you're born May 2nd or after, May 2nd, 1994 or later, you are eligible. You cannot be currently enrolled as a full-time or part-time student in a degree granting program during the fellowship period. However, if you are enrolled as a student in a program that is not related to music or music composition, let us know that and we can work around that. You have to be a resident of New York City at the time of your application. So you have to, we do ask for proof of residency. We're very, very open in terms of what that is. If it's like utility bill, a lease, driver's license, voter registration, whatever. But we do need to have some sort of proof that you reside in New York City because again, this fellowship is funded by the New York Community Trust. Next, and we also request that you are living in the United States and based primarily in New York City during the fellowship period. And that is because we want you to be able to take full advantage of all of the opportunities that we have. We are based in New York. A lot of our constituents, community, and contacts are based in New York, and a lot of the opportunities that we can confer upon you outside of the fellowship, key core benefits are also in New York City. So that's why we ask of that. If you graduate in May, you're completely eligible to apply. Yes. And that we ask that you are either a citizen, a permanent resident, a resident alien, or a non-resident alien with an ITIN. You don't have to have a social security number, but we do have to have a method by which to pay you that the government needs to know where we're paying. So that's all we're going to say about that. If you have questions, feel free to ask. We're happy to answer. Okay, in terms of the application, we ask personal information, demographic information. There's some supplementary information, a letter of recommendation, a resume, and a headshot. And then the meat of it, which is the narrative question, so that we can learn more about you and why this is important to you, what you're going to do, and some work samples for the panelists to make an assessment. So the personal information, the items that are asterisked here are the mandatory questions. So we need your name. We prefer to know your pronouns so that we can, you know, identify you as you choose. We need your birthday, again, just to confirm that you are 30 years of or younger at the time that the fellowship starts. We need an email address and a phone number to be able to reach you, and we need your address, so your actual physical address and the borough in which you reside. So that's helpful. We also, again, these are not mandatory, but helpful so that we can ensure that we are serving you better and that we can make sure that we are serving the community as best as we can. We would like to know if you identify as a person with a disability, and we would like to know your ethnicity. Again, we're not, it is not mandatory, but it is helpful for us to be able to better serve you. And then the supplementary information, we would like a resume, a headshot, a letter of recommendation from either an educator or a music professional who is familiar with your work. And then an optional website or Instagram handle, again, so we can, these are in the, in case you are selected as the Van Lier Fellow, we like to have this on hand for the press release, for social media announcements, and then it just expedites the process. In terms of the letter of recommendation, people often ask about this. To be honest with you, having like a very famous person who is not familiar with your work is not as valuable as somebody who is less famous, but who is intimately knowledgeable, aware of, and can speak about you as an individual and your work. So that's more important than having, you know, a super famous name that doesn't carry as much weight. So just want you to know that. So don't stress out trying to find like the biggest star to write you a letter of recommendation. Really trying to find somebody who can speak to you and how this opportunity will help you as an artist is probably much more meaningful. Okay, the meat and potatoes here, the narrative questions. So we want to know about you. We want to know your artistic statement. So describing your unique vision and approach to music, only 300 words. Again, try to make this intelligible for people. You know, theoretic language, unless it's like key to you, that's important. But again, just convey the essence of you, your approach, and why and how you make music. There's an optional statement that you can include that describes the legacies, the influences, and or heritages on your work. We don't, again, you don't have to do this. It's a very short response, 100-word max. But again, it helps provide context and it gives the reviewers a more holistic understanding of your work. So we encourage it, but it's not required. Next. Okay. Again, this fellowship is really to help you and your growth as an artist. So we ask for the following statements. We want to know where you are in your professional and artistic career in New York, and would like you to be able to share key moments and learnings in your career so far. It's very important that we understand your goals and how this fellowship is going to help you achieve those goals. Again, we want this fellowship to be impactful, and we want to make sure that it's going to help you. So this is a key evaluation component of the application. And then we'd like a statement describing an existing or a new body of work that you're working to develop during this fellowship. So again, we'd like to make sure that there is consistency in your trajectory so that you are, you know, it's great if you have like big ambitions and you want to work on a big piece. But if you've never developed whatever, a classical opera before and your background is in some kind of contemporary music, well, maybe that doesn't align properly. So again, we just want to make sure that this is that your goals and your progress and your career are kind of in alignment. Not that we discourage experimentation, we do. So if that's part of what you want to do, that's part of your artist statement, that you are very experimental and you like to try new genres. All of that, again, just to make sure that there is consistency in the application. It is residency. Jivan, just asking your question. You need to be a resident when you apply because we ask for proof of New York City residency. So just following up on that, clarifying. Okay, let's see. Let's move on to the next section. Another very important section of the application, another important question is the community impact. So we want to know your relationship to the AAPI community and how you hope to impact it through your work. So again, it's ideally, it would be impacting the community in New York. If you are new to New York, that's fine, again, but just this is, part of, we're looking for somebody who has the opportunity for growth and who wants to help develop the community as well through their work. So we leave that to you, how you choose to interpret that. And then again, a minor, I don't even know like how much this counts towards the overall skill. It's like tiny, but we want to know how you plan to use the grant. If you want to buy groceries with it, if you want to pay your rent, if you want to buy health insurance, if you want to pay musicians to help you hear what the work sounds like, if you want to pay for a recording session, any of these things, they're all valid. There's no wrong answer to this. It just helps us understand where the need is. So that's why we ask. Work samples. Okay, work samples are key, very key. We want a total, okay, so you're allowed to provide 3 to 5 samples, no longer than 15 minutes maximum total, all added together. You can have actually you can't have one 15-minute sample. You could have one 10-minute sample and then 2.5-minute samples. You could have, 5 3-minute samples, whatever you want to do. Just again, if you send us a video, you have to indicate the timestamps. If it's longer than 15 minutes, each sample, or just again, note that the reviewers, the panelists are only going to listen to 15 minutes. So choose those 15 minutes wisely. And again, if you're sending us anything that's password protected, make sure you send us the link. Otherwise, the panelists are not going to be able to hear your samples and they're going to be really sad. So we don't want that to happen. And then we have a field that allows you to provide a description of your work sample. So the title of the sample, the date, where it was presented, and then importantly, why you chose this. What aspect of this sample do you want people to hear? And if you're performing in let's say you're a musician and you play many instruments and you're sending a demo tape, let us know like what if you're playing all of the instruments, if you're playing one of them, again, just so the panelists really understand what they're listening to and what your contribution is. So we're just asking it to be very, very clear. Like people, for example, we also run a dance fellowship and people send in tapes of performances. We don't know who it is because there are a whole bunch of dancers and they don't identify it. So it's really key for the reviewers, the panelists, to know who is doing what in these samples. So, okay, the deadline, here's the link. The link is all over the place. It's on the website, it's, you'll be able to find it. So again, cannot stress enough, please submit before the deadline of 11:59 p.m. on Monday, March 24th. Okay, how are we gonna make a choice? This is so hard because we get so many incredibly talented people, but these are the criteria. that the panelists are given to make the selection: artistic merit, the development of the new or existing work, your community impact, and potential for growth. There's details, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, so in terms of artistic merit, do you display technical skill in your chosen style, genre, instrument, whatever? Do the work samples clearly demonstrate a high level of performance quality or unique expression? And does the applicant, do you demonstrate a clarity of vision to the approach of your work that's reflected in the narrative, work samples, and proposed project? Again, this is the consistency issue. So if you are very clear, you are a huge experimenter, and then you want to work across genres, that will help us understand if the work samples are dissonant and we're like, why are they sending these in? This is very important to explain that. So just wanted to clarify the artistic merit. So in terms of the work that you're creating with support of this fellowship, we want to know, does it demonstrate a unique creative quality? What's different and special about it, the work that's going to be created through this? And will it serve as an important step in your career? So, again, this is to help promote development and growth. And if you've composed 50 sonatas for piano and you're presenting another 51st sonata, maybe this isn't showing growth, or maybe it is. So again, we just need an explanation. So we want to know how this is going to help you. The community, community impact. How do you hope to impact the community as a whole? And have you demonstrated promise or leadership in the field or in the community? And this doesn't necessarily have to be in music. If you've been involved in your community, if you sit on your community board, or you, are involved in a local, nonprofit organization, or you give music lessons to, kids in the community. All of these are impactful, and so just share that again. So we want to know, and again, it's not necessarily confined to the musical realm. Okay, and then the final one is your potential for growth. So why is this meaningful to you? What is this award going to mean to you personally? Why do you need this? How is it going to help you fulfill and pursue your future ambitions and goals? Like, is this really going to make a difference? Like, if you've had, 75 awards and this is your 76th, maybe it's not going to make that much of a difference. But if you are, you recently moved here from somewhere else, or you recently, graduated from an MFA program and you need support to get to the next level, tell us that. That's meaningful. And we want to know also that you show commitment to fulfilling this professional development, that you continue to pursue your career as a musician, as a composer. So just how you can convey that, you have space for that in the application. And then those are all the questions. A few tips, best practices. First of all, make sure that you meet all the qualifying factors. Again, we kind of talked about the school, the residency, the age requirements. Those are all important. In terms of the statements, please be clear, simple language. Again, you don't need to use, super flowery jargon, complicated terms, unless it's very important to define your work. We have performers and different panelists that come from different backgrounds. Some may have an academic, some may be self-taught, some may be bookers. They're all different. So again, if you can try to avoid super complicated jargon or at least define what your meaning is, that's helpful. If you want to have somebody else read over it before you submit it, that's highly recommended. You don't have to. And then also just, write with confidence. Like this is important, what you are doing, not that maybe I'm going to or I want to, but you are. So just like, assume that you've already got this. So that's a few tips there. Again, I mentioned this several times, just ensure that your project, the narrative questions that you provide and your work samples are in alignment. And just again, make sure that we understand that thread. So there's an opportunity for you to share that information in the essay sections and even in the work sample explanation. And then just very clear work samples. Make sure they reflect you and your artistic vision. Like if you had the opportunity to perform at Carnegie Hall, but you basically had a minor role, like that's not as important as a piece that really shows who you are as an artist, whether that's in a studio or whatever. Just, let us know what you do as an artist and that you're ready to take this on and you're ready to move to the next level and execute your project. Okay, we'll go through the timeline again. So, we've already opened the call. We're in the information session. You have almost a month, not quite, but almost a month to complete your submission. Closes, again, I will say it for the 99th time. It closes 11:59 p.m. on Monday, March 24th. Once we have all of those, again, we'll just scan them for eligibility and completeness. And then the panelists have a few weeks to review them. And then we meet, we have a session, and then we will notify the selected fellows on April 25th. You have a few days to accept. We hope you'll accept when we tell you. And then we'll make a public announcement on May 8th. So that's the schedule. And that's it. So if you have any questions while you are preparing your application, we hope you'll go in there now, download the questions. Feel free to email Justine. She's dropped her email in the chat. It's on the website. And if you have any questions, you can ask them now, or you can email them to us. But we're here right now in the zone. So feel free to ask. You can unmute yourself and ask. You can pop it in the chat. You can raise your hand. You can, you can raise your virtual hand or your real hand.
I did see a question from Daniel. When we apply, do we need to apply exclusively for the composer or performer grant?
No, yes, I'm sorry. You have to select one. I thought I had answered that in the discussion, but you have to select one, whichever one you feel the closest alignment with. We understand that people do both, but pick the one you feel the strongest about.
Yeah, and I would also say if you maybe the work that you hope to develop during the fellowship will also guide the decision on which one you choose if you identify as both. So I would consider that as well. Does that answer your question? Yep. Okay, great.
Okay. There was another question. Are you eligible if you graduate from a music program in May? And yes, as long as you meet all of the other criteria, you are definitely eligible. And then if there was just, do you have to be a resident in New York City by the application date or by the start of the fellowship? And you have to be a resident of New York City at the date of application, because we ask for proof of residency with your application. So that is, I think those are all the questions except for Jay. Jay has a question.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of
But
this.
I can't hear you, Jay. Justine, can you hear Jay?
How about
Oh,
now?
okay. Then you can answer because I can't hear it.
Okay.
Can you hear
Go
me
ahead,
now?
Jay. I can hear you.
Okay. I was just wondering, I'm currently enrolled in a part-time online Master of the Arts in Voice Pedagogy program. It's based in the UK. It's all research based, and all of my research, it's somewhat in the context of music, but it's mostly in the context of like vocal anatomy and trans voices in a social setting and like gender perception in voice. So I was wondering if I would still qualify since it's not really in music, but it's more of the voice science.
Yeah. Yeah, we might have to take that offline. Maybe you can just follow up with me over email and we can let you know.
Okay,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. Thanks, Jay. That's a great question, though. I see another question from Daniel. For the statement on community impact, is this a concrete thing we want to do during the fellowship or general theme? What have past fellows done during or before after their fellowship, if that's relevant to discuss? So I would say that the community impact part is not necessarily a concrete engagement or thing you want to do during the fellowship. I would say it's more a general theme, but if you have concrete examples of things you've already participated in or led in your community, and that you may hope to continue during the fellowship, that's a place to share that. But no, it doesn't have to be a concrete thing. The field where you're describing the work that you hope to develop during the fellowship is more what we're paying attention to, for what you'll be kind of executing and processing and executing during the fellowship. What have past fellows done during or before after their fellowship, if that's relevant to discuss? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
I mean, there are a lot of things that people have done. I don't know if it's something that we should talk about, like what people have done. I can just say, like, one example, a previous Van Leer fellow is now giving master classes. And so that's, I mean, it's quite aspirational, but I mean, she's doing it. So that's one.
Any other questions? Okay, lots of questions from Daniel. Is the jury different from the composer and performer grant? Oh, that's a good question. Is the deliberation process connected, coordinated? I'm just wondering. It is the same panel that is going to evaluate all applications, whether you identify as a composer or as a performer. So as Lisa said earlier, this panel is going to be a panel of 5 music professionals, industry folks who should be able, they're going to have different backgrounds themselves, and we really are looking for that variety, that diversity. So there will be, at least 1 or 2 composers on the panel, at least 1 or 2 performers, and sure, definitely folks who are a blend of the two. So those perspectives will all be present to make the decision. And yeah, like Lisa said, there is one session where we gather them via Zoom to review, to discuss and make a selection. Yeah. Any genre preferences? No, none. No genre preferences. From a high for the community impact, does community refer to others within the Asian diaspora, or can it apply to community I've grown up with? Community I've grown up with in NYC. I would, that's a good question. Well, we do say Asian American community. So I think that I would try to focus on the Asian American community, but yeah, I'll just put it that way. Lisa, do you agree? Okay. Any other questions?
I do want to say, though, that if you have done a lot of work in your community growing up, you could share that information. So it shows your potential to continue doing work to support others.
Yeah, that's a good point, Lisa.
Well,
Oh,
okay,
I
if we
guess,
do,
sorry, I
oh,
just have
sorry,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing.
Mhm.
Is this the first year that you're doing two, like a composer and a performer grant for the music fellowship? Because on the
No.
I just saw on the website, there's like the last music performance fellow was 2021, right?
We did one in 2018 as
Oh.
well, and that was Rob Brucely and Pawan Benjamin. So we had a musician and a composer. Mhm.
And then for the more recent one, was there a reason that only one fellowship was awarded?
Because the trust only gave us money for one.
Okay. Thank you.
So we need lots of applications so we can show the need for this grant. Yeah, so if you all have, like I said, if there are other questions, feel free to ask us. We're going to post this as along with there's other FAQs, and we'll add your questions to the FAQs, and that'll be on the website, but we'll post the recording on our YouTube channel. So if you have friends, well, yeah, if you want to rewatch it, if you want clarification, you can either watch it or you can send your questions to us, and we're happy to answer them.